Today is the day I start the process of fixing and repainting the fairings for Yamaha R125. In the previous video, I've shown you how to take the fairings off, and in this video, I'll show you how to fix them. I don't want to make this video ridiculously long, so I'll show you two fairings. One which is completely damaged and one which is not damaged at all. So on one, I'll show you how to sand it down, fill it, and repaint it. And the second one, I'll show you how to sand down the lacquer and repaint it. So I'll show you two different type of fairings, two different damages and two different processes. Let me show you the fairing first, which is really damaged. Like this one, these are the side covers and they are deep scratches and these are needs to be removed. So I'll sand them down, fill them, then paint them with a primer and then go with the paint. So you'll see in the video the process. And the second fairing, which is just fine, like the tank cover, just minor surface scratches, but I do need to take the lacquer off. So I'll show you this one, and that should cover everything. And for the end result, what I'm actually going for is here. I've already did a practice run. This is the front mudguard, and I think it came out really nice. I didn't want to make fool of myself in front of you trying it for the first time, but I did it on the first try. So this is base coat is black, and then on top of it is random crystals, and then on top of that I painted with red and then sand down the excess paint. And after that I finished it off with 2 coats of lacquer. As you can see, these are quite deep scratches. So I will use 180 grit sandpaper. That means using a sponge to keep everything nice and flat, so we don't want any dips. We'll do that like so, and I'm gonna cut it. That's it. Beforehand I need to remove these. Okay, it's only one. Yes. Okay, so let's remove these scratches. Again, as I said, I don't need to actually sand all the plastic off where the scratches are. Just wanted to make it rough and then fill out these scratches, and that I will show you in a bit how to do that as well. Okay. Because I'm just going over with my hand to see how the scratches feel. Nothing is raised, and that's what we want. We want to remove the raised areas, like here this is raised, so sand it off. It depends on the type of scratches you have, and that will define what kind of sandpaper you will use. The minor the scratches, the higher the number for the sanding paper. That's good. I can feel some here. Okay, right here. I don't want to sand too much that you will see these deforms on the panel, and these are really deep. I can feel these ones. So let's do that. Okay, I'm gonna use my fingers now because this is a curve and I can't use the sponge. So I'll take the panel and just go over it like that. Right here. These are still not good. Yes, feels better. Right here. I'm not putting too much pressure because the plastic, it is soft plastic. So as I'm putting pressure, it's curving and that's not good. So I'm just using a light pressure. Okay, that feels nice and smooth. I don't feel no raised edges. This one. Yes, that's good. Yeah, that's perfect. And now I will wash these panels. I have washed the plastic panel. As you can see, I've scratched a lot here and these fairings were painted on top of the plastic. I think this is SMX black metallic paint. But either way, I will be painting the whole panel again. So I will now take 800 grit and just go over all the panel and roughen up the paint and the surface like that. And smooth out some deeper scratches left by the previous sandpaper we use. Now this was 800 and I'll use now 1200 or 1000. I'll go with 1200. Let's skip the 1000. We need to at least scratch it so the primer will stick. Yeah, that's good. And let me wash it and see what is the result. This is what plastics look like after the sanding, but I can still feel some deep scratches, but these needs to be filled. I can't sand them down. So I've showed you now how to fix the damaged fairings. I still need to fill them. I'll show you that in later video, but let's go to the one which is not damaged, where we need to only remove the clear coat. Okay, here we have the tank cover. Now nothing is wrong with it, minor scratches which is from the regular use, but I do need to take the lacquer off to put another coat of paint. So I will use on this, since I only need to take the lacquer off, I will probably use 2,500. I can always go down a number then destroying the paint. So I'll take 2,500 like so, and this time I will use the sponge because there are a lot of curves and stuff. So here goes nothing. No, let's use 1500. Let's go with 1500. And you know what, I will probably wet sand it this time. Yeah, 1500 is better. And now these grooves. Okay, let's wash it. Both panels are prepped. This is the tank cover which I removed only the lacquer, and this is the side fairing where were deep scratches. Both of these panels have different processes of painting. For example, the tank cover, I only need to put another layer of paint and then clear coat maybe twice, and that's it. This is the easy peasy. This panel on the other hand will be a bit more difficult because I need to fill these deeper scratches, then paint it with the base coat, and then paint it with the black paint of 2 coats, and after that paint the other coat which I want the design, and then after that I can paint with the clear coat twice. So I've showed you 2 different processes. One, just to remove the lacquer and repaint. Another one, how to remove the scratches and repaint. So now I go off the camera and sand everything down, which will take me maybe a day or two because that's a lot of work. Once I'm done with sanding and removing the scratches, then I'll come back on camera and I'll show you how to fill these panels and spray them with a primer. I did order a special primer which is a filler primer, so it will also fill some gaps left over. I've sanded everything down nice and smooth. It's time to fill the deep gauges. So I will use the soft putty. This dries quite fast, so I'm going to have to be even faster because I have 5 parts to fill and I don't want this thing drying out before I complete it. So this is 1:1 ratio. Use this. Let's open this up. Okay, I got the screwdriver because my fingers are apparently not strong enough. I've already used some to fix some other bits. So let's pour the mix in. Okay, and now we need to mix it properly. Remember, the drying time is 3 to 5 minutes, so I'm gonna have to be real fast. Make sure it's mixed properly. So I'm gonna take this, start applying on the gauges. I don't need to be careful right now because I will need to sand it again. You might be wondering I'm putting way too much, but I don't care because I will sand all this down. Better to put more now than miss something later on. Also need to put some here. And then I'll take this and take the excess off just like that. Okay, that's done. All the parts which needed filling are done. There are 5 panels. Now I need to wait another 10 minutes for them to really dry properly, and then I can start wet sanding it. In a minute I'll show you how to sand it down. Now it's dry, I can sand down the excess filler, and I will be using a wet sanding method. No pressure, very slight pressure. Remember, the point is to fill out these deep gauges, not to have the putty everywhere. So I'll just remove the excess. I'm not too worried about removing the paint because I will be putting a primer first and then repainting it black, and then on top of it will go red. So paint is not my worry. You see how nicely these are filled out, and I cannot feel my nail over it, but I do feel it here. It's raised, so just sand that down. And it's best to use some pad or something because you don't want to go over with finger because then you will leave uneven surfaces. You see how nicely it's filled out and it's nice and smooth. This is what I wanted. So as you can see, everything is sanded down. The only place where the putty is left is where I wanted to fill the deep gauges. And this is exactly what we want. This part is done. Now I will do the same for the rest 4. And then we can start priming them. So everything is done and ready for the base coat. As you can see, the filler is only in the place where it should be, where were these deep gouges, and nowhere else. I've used 800 grit sandpaper, and after that I used 1000 grit just to be sure to make the surface a little bit smoother. And you might be wondering why I have a blue rear wing. That's because I bought a used one and I'm going to paint it either way, because I was not about to spend 120 euros on one part, which I got it for like 20 bucks on eBay. Now what I need to do is clean them with alcohol to get rid of any grease left over, and then we can start priming it. I will use P360. This is acrylic based primer, and it should also fill out some gaps left over. So you want to shake this at least 2 minutes upside down. Let's take our alcohol and start wiping all the panels down. So I'll pour some on the cloth like so. Take the panel and clean it properly, everything. Apparently I was not recording while I was putting the primer on, so I'm gonna do it once more just to show you guys. I did put on my dirty clothes, which I use usually for painting. I have a glove on. So you want to take the primer can, shake it as I said before. So grab a panel which you want to paint. I have a hook right here which I can grab without touching the area which I want to paint. So you start with the edges. This is how I do it. Why I'm doing the edges? Because these edges will be visible when they put the fairings back on. So I'm being extra careful not to miss those edges. Okay, that's that. Let's do this one again. Okay, so this is mostly misshape. So again, I will start with the edges. I was too close. You don't want to be that close. That was by mistake. Okay. So even though it's drying as I'm painting, I still need to wait at least 2 to 3 hours before I can sand them down again. So we'll sand it down, wash it again, clean it with alcohol, and then we can start putting the paint. I'll go with the black coat first, then we'll do the crystals, and on top of that I'll do the red one, and then sand everything down and then do the clear coat. Okay, I've already sanded down some of the panels. Don't worry, I left 2 panels to show you how to sand it down after applying the primer. So I have 2 panels right here which I haven't touched yet after the primer. So I will use 800 grit, but you should use anything from 6 to 800 grit. I'll go with 800 because it's more or less smooth, so I only need to roughen up the surface. Let's do that. So let's start sanding it down again. So I will use a sponge to have it a level surface. We don't want to leave any uneven parts, and you don't need to sand too much, just a little bit with light pressure. It's much easier if the part you are sanding is not soft and not bending. because this one is shaping as I'm putting pressure. So that's why I'm going very lightly. And you want to make sure to get every part, because the reason we are sanding is to make the paint stick better. Everybody does it differently. As I said before, this is how I do it. And now these curved areas I will have to go with hands very carefully. And again, do not forget the edges, the inside and outside, because as explained, these edges will be visible when we put the panels back on. Okay, that's more than enough. Let's put this on side and take the other one. Same thing, this is more or less straight surface, so I will use a sponge. This is soft, so it more or less shapes according to the shape I'm going over. Not 100%, but at least something. And where I cannot do it with the sponge, I'll do it with the hand. I think this is enough. I did went over the edges, inside and outside, so this is all done now. All these panels are primed, sand it down, and now we need to wash it with soap properly. Since the next coat will be almost final coat, we need to wash everything properly. Get rid of all the dust remaining from the sanding and other contaminants. So I need to wash every bit of it, making sure not missing anything. Okay, and now we will soak it down. Okay, put this on side for drying. But it will be easier with this. If you think you need to wash it twice, wash it twice, wash it 3 times. Just make sure it's clean. I don't have to wash it from the bottom, but I want to make sure there is no dirt which can fly off and land on the paint. So we'll wash everything properly. I have my glove on, that means it's time to do the paint. So first thing first, we'll take isopropyl alcohol and clean every panel to make sure and get rid of any grease left after washing. Now that is done, close this. We don't want alcohol to evaporate. Now you take your paint can, flip it upside down, and you shake for at least 2 minutes. Otherwise, you will have these darker spots. So, you guys be pro at it. So, I've been shaking these for at least 2 minutes off the camera. Let's begin. Just gonna have a look. There is no debris, nothing on the panel, and try to avoid touching with your finger because you will leave this oil residue. So we'll do it from at least like 20 to 30 centimeters. I'm gonna put this away. Hey, okay, we'll clean that again. You don't forget to do underside because this part will be visible when you mount the back wing back on. Let's do the second one. Okay, now I'll hold it for a few minutes so it can dry. This paint only takes few minutes to dry, so I don't want to put the panel down and touch and destroy the paint. So I'll hold it for a few minutes. Let's do third one. Again, I'm wiping each panel before I'm painting. And I'm painting everything. Not complete the back, but at least the edges. So let's do that. This one, yes, I remember there is a hook I can grab onto and I can do all in one go. So as always, I start with edges. Okay, I need to switch. Just have a look if you didn't miss nothing. It looks completely black, but this is metallic. Once you put the clear coat, then you will start to see the metallic. Okay, this is done, and now I will do the rest of the panels and I'll be back because I don't want to make a 5-day long video. Okay, everything is painted. These are the wings. The tank, I decided to paint the tank as well. Why not while I'm at it? Now I will give it another 20 to 30 minutes for the paint to really dry properly. Meanwhile, while we wait, we can prepare the solution for crystallization. So meanwhile, while we are waiting, we can prepare the solution for the crystallization. I will take a container. You can use a tap water, but I have a demineralized water to avoid any contaminant. I have it laying around, so I'll use that. So I'll use all of it since we have a lot of fairings, and that is 1200 ml. So we want to use 1:1 ratio, and to make the crystal, we will take ammonia. This is regular old ammonia. You can get it from the garden shop. This is used as a fertilizer. So we'll use 1:1 ratio. That's the best ratio I came up with experimenting, because I've done like 10 experiments before, and the final result was this right here. So let's do that. 1:1 ratio. So it's 1200 ml of water. Now I can start pouring ammonia in. So I will set it to, just to show you, so you can see what I'm doing exactly. There we go. That's 1200 ml. Put 0. Okay. Do I have enough? Let me just measure first if I have enough. Zero. My scale is going a bit crazy. Yeah, I have exactly 1200. So I don't need container. I can just pour that in. We can remove the scale. There we go. Okay, let's do this. I'm gonna I'm gonna do it slowly. I think that's the best way to do it. Or I can do it like that. There we go. No, I didn't think it through. All right. Don't worry about these floating bits. I will filter everything out before I use it. One very important ingredient is missing before we start mixing this. There are two steps before we start pouring this on the fairing to make crystals. One is this: we need to make the water stick to the fairing. So about this is Oxgal liquid that was around 7 euros for 70 ml bottle. It did not work as it should, so this is garbage for me. In my experiment, what worked the best is dishwashing liquid. Solution is 2.4 liters. That means we need to add 2% of the total amount. Now you can mix these as is. It's quite cold. It will take 10-15 minutes to dissolve, or you can just heat up the water. So I will go with the easy way and I will warm it up. Be back. This is the second step. First step was to make the solution. Solution is ready. Now before we start applying the solution on the panels, we need to scuff up the paint. The reason for it is an example. If I put water on it, you see how it just runs off, and we don't want that. So if we scuff up the paint a little bit, not too much pressure, just gently rub it, you will start to see the paint is coming off. So we are taking microscopic layer of roughing up the paint, and it's already water is staying. So if I will put again water now, you see how the water is staying, it's not coming back, and this is what we want for the crystals to form. So go over every panel completely, not missing anything. Again, not too much pressure, just gentle pressure. See, I will go in every nook and cranny to make sure all the paint where the crystal will form is rough, so the solution can stay on the panel and not just run off. Okay, if it run off, then we have to redo it and redo it and redo it until we can get it right. So first time, do it right. And let's just test it. Yes, go once more over all panel, just in case I missed a spot. We rinse it off to get rid of any particles left over by scuffing, and we leave it for dry. The best way to do it is not to pour the liquid on it, but use a microfiber cloth, wet it, take the liquid, and then just go over like that, cover everything. And now we leave it like that for to dry. Take another one. It's not as hot as I would like to, but it's gonna have to do. And as it will start to dry, it will form crystals. You can manipulate those crystals. If you will poke as it will dry, you can poke right here. You can see the crystals forming already. So if I will poke right here like that, you see that's a dry area, and now the next crystal will start to fan out from here. And you can see it's nicely crystals are forming. We will let it form. I don't want to touch it because I want complete random crystals, but that I'm just showing you. You can poke and those crystals will start from here, so you can start poking everywhere and you can have like a 3D-ish effect, but I don't want that. I want complete random pattern. You can repeat this process as many times as you like till you are satisfied with the result. So this is not just do it once and you're done. No, you can do it as many times as you like. And that was the purpose of scuffing up the paint. Okay, I need to be careful not to splash this solution on the panels which are already done, because then it will create uneven layers. So that's done. Everything is done. Now we wait for these panels to dry properly, because you can see some panels are still wet. It's not as hot as it was last week, so this might take like a half an hour, 45 minutes. So after waiting about 45 minutes, it's dry. You can see the crystals, and now we can paint it red or blue or whatever color you want. I'm going with black and red. This is Mazda red. That's a new Mazda red, 2025 model. So we'll do one light coat. That's it, no more. As I said, this will be visible, so that's why I'm painting that. Also, Yamaha originally painted only this part and rest not. Just going over the spots which I missed. Hey, doggo, be quiet. Let me just have a look in the sunlight. It's missing a little bit here. And the corner. Yes, that should be good. Let's do the tank top now. You can see the crystals. Whew, should have worn mask. Just checking to make sure paint is everywhere. We haven't missed anything. Ah, yes. Okay, that's good. Let's do the big one. I've showed you 3 panels how to do it, and rest I'm going to do off the camera because that will be a very long video if I do everything on the video. So I'm going to paint rest of them and I'll be back. Now it's painted, nice and dark red. It doesn't look that bad if we even keep it just like that, but we won't. I need to wait for this paint to dry for at least 1 hour, and then I can start scrubbing the excess paint off, removing all the crystals. So you can see the crystals. These all crystals needs to go down. Where the crystals are, they will be the black paint. So it will give it a nice mixed color. The paint is already dried. Now we can take off the excess paint, and don't use the sandpaper because you will start taking also the paint off where we don't want. So best to use is scuffing pad, and again slight pressure, no pressing it like ridiculously, just slight pressure. We want to take off these crystals. I don't know if you can see, we just want to take off the crystals. Again, I like to do it wet so I can see where I've taken off and where not. Look at this, it's already coming together. So I will take off the one is quite raised first, and then we will go into the details. So this will be just very rough and quick, and after that we can go into the details. This is what it looks like. Now I need to go into the details. So I'm gonna start looking at the structure where it's raised, where the crystals are still there. I need to remove those, and that I will use slight pressure for that. So let's do this. Okay, just to show you the difference now. This one is done with more details, and this one still needs to be done. So you can see the difference. There is a lot more red than here, and this is what we're looking for. One panel is done. This is the end result. Now I need to do 10 more. So let's move on to the next one. I will show you one more, and then I'll go off camera and sand everything down. Not sand down, but remove the crystals. See, I'm not using pressure again. I'm just going over it with very light pressure, very gently, because the more pressure you will put, the more paint you will take off, and we don't want that. Okay, if you mess this up, there is no going back. The only way to go back is sand everything down and restart the process. So with this last step, you have to take your time and be very careful. Sand it again, everything, and It is another trick. If you take a water and just run it, if there are some raised edges, you will see that, and I don't see anything. Yeah, here I need to do more. There we go. So now I go off camera, take the crystals off for all panels, then we come back and I'll show you how to do a final coat. Everything is again washed and clean. Now we clean it again with isopropyl alcohol or any cleaning alcohol or rubbing alcohol to get rid of any grease left over. Best not to touch the panel with your fingers afterward. That's why I'm wearing a gloves and I don't want paint on my hands. So okay, again shake it upside down. I've already done that. This is sprayed aerosol clear coat from aerosol. Should be good. Just have a look. Need to do a little bit more here. Okay, that's done. Here is the next one. Again, clean. Okay, that's done, and I'll do the rest and I'll show you the end result. I just finished the final coat. It's nice and glossy. All fairings are done. Now I need to wait for at least 12 to 24 hours for it to dry properly. Although it's dry to the touch, if I'll poke with my nail, I will leave a dent. So because this is a acrylic base final finish, I need to wait 12 to 24 hours depending on the weather and temperature. So once these are dry, we can put them back on Yamaha R125. Fairings are back on and I think the results are amazing. The only problem is my son doesn't like the front complete black, but I do, so maybe I will change it to match the rest of the color. But for now it will stay. In 1 week or so I can redo it. I've installed the turn signals, but they are not connected yet because I promised I will show you how to do that. So let's have a look at the bike, the rest of it. This is the side fairings, still missing few things like the logos. I'm still waiting on those. The foot pegs are of course missing. I ordered new pins because I broke the previous ones. I might also do the rider seat to match the passenger seat, but that will be another video of course, because many of you have asked me to redo the seat, that's this one as well. And then of course we are missing the tail tidy and we are missing the tail light, and that again will be another video. Few things here and there are missing. Forgot to mention also the handlebar, the lever and the grip and the bar ends. I have all these parts, it just I need to find the time to replace them now. So let me know in the comments what you guys think. It took some time and a lot of effort, but we got the job done, and I think personally the bike looks amazing. I hope this video will help you with your projects. As always, ride safe. See you on the next one.